Hey everyone, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this one. The courtroom doors closed behind me with the weight of a final verdict. My parents sat at the front, pristine, composed, putting on a flawless act. To the world, they were the picture of elegance. To me, they were decay draped in jewels. As the clerk called my name, my father leaned in close. "You've brought disgrace on us," he whispered, venom in his voice. "Family doesn't turn on family." I met his gaze, unflinching. "Then perhaps I was never part of yours." The room fell silent, a fracture in their carefully crafted facade. "My name is Antoinette Graves, the daughter they cast out and the lawyer now standing against them." He said family doesn't betray family. I showed him he was wrong. Part 2, the unseen daughter. I once believed love was earned by securing a seat at the table. In our home, it meant staying quiet while my brother, Michael, took the spotlight. He was the radiant star, greeted with laughter, praise, and open doors. I was the shadow, always just out of reach of the glow. Every frame on the mantel held his grin, never mine. Mother called it staging. Father called it expectations. But the truth was favoritism. On my graduation night, they didn't show. When I asked why, Mother's voice was soft, slicing. Michael's trip to Europe mattered more. "Don't make this about you." Her words were honey-laced with thorns, sweet, but they cut deep. That night, I stopped chasing their approval. That summer, I joined the army. My duffel bag was heavy, but their silence weighed more. When Father learned, he stormed in, fury in his eyes. "The army? Who do you think you are? You shamed us." He tore my enlistment papers, then pushed me toward the door. Mother's tears weren't for me. They were for the neighbors' gossip. I stood on the porch, the flickering light overhead, my suitcase thudding against the steps. The night air stung, but their rejection burned fiercer. I waited, hoping someone would open the door, call me back, say stay. No one did. Only crickets hummed, and the weight of being unwanted pressed down. Then Aunt Margaret's car rolled up, headlights piercing the dark. She didn't ask questions. She handed me an old fountain pen. "Sign only for what counts," she said softly. "You don't need their validation, just your own strength." I clutched that pen like a vow I wasn't ready to keep. That night, they pushed me out, but I walked away unbound. Part 3, the soldier and the advocate. Basic training shattered me before it forged me. Dawn came too early, boots pounding gravel, breath clouding in the cold. Every shouted command peeled away pieces of who I'd been. But in that breaking, I found something solid: discipline, purpose, resilience. When my arms shook, I heard Father's voice, "You've shamed us." Each push-up was rebellion. Each mile was proof I didn't need them to survive. The army gave me order, rules that were fair. Work hard, earn respect, speak truth. No games, no hidden penalties, just effort, sweat, and a quiet pride that didn't demand an audience. At night, when the base was silent, I'd write letters I never mailed, to Mother, to Father, to no one. Part apology, part defiance. I didn't want their forgiveness. I wanted to know why love felt like a transaction. After my service, I carried that discipline into a new beginning. Law school was a battlefield in a different skin. Same pressure, same structure, same need for precision. But I was prepared. I studied late, juggled 2 jobs, spoke only with evidence. The night I passed the bar, I whispered to my empty apartment I did it. And I didn't need your applause. Even then, victory wasn't joy, it was endurance. I built a fortress from focus, a life from silence. No birthdays, no holidays, no calls. Sometimes I'd watch families in cafes, loud, chaotic, connected, and wonder what it felt like to belong without proving yourself. I'd shut the thought down before it became pain. Time reshaped me into someone my younger self wouldn't recognize. The girl crying on the curb was gone. In her place stood a woman who wrote her own right to exist. I crafted a steady, controlled life until a case file hit my desk. Graves Realty Holdings versus Denver City Tenants. My breath caught. Their signatures, their empire, my family. I stared at the folder, tracing the embossed initials, HG and BG, Harold and Beatrice Graves. The parents who discarded me now faced fraud charges. My pulse didn't race from surprise, but from something sharper, certainty. Fate hadn't let me go. It was summoning me back to the fight. They built their legacy on deceit. I was returning with truth. Part 4, The Garden and the Truth. That night, they came to my door, uninvited, unapologetic. The knock was gentle, almost courteous, like guilt wearing a mask. Father stood there, clad in tailored confidence, mother behind him, her pearls gleaming like polished lies. He didn't bother with pleasantries. You've disgraced us enough. Drop the case, he said, his voice low and toxic. Mother's tone was sweeter, but no less cutting. Win now if you must, but you don't understand the stakes. Her perfume flooded the room, rich, oppressive, like memories that refused to fade. I said nothing, shut the door, and locked it twice. Hours later, another knock, softer. An old man stood in the hallway, hat trembling in his hands. He held out an envelope. Margaret told me to keep this safe, he said, until the time was right. The paper felt heavy, alive, as if the truth inside had been waiting to breathe. Under the lamplight, I opened it. My grandfather's handwriting sprawled across fragile pages, shaky but resolute. If you're reading this, I never trusted Harold. There's a shadow in him. If the truth is hidden, look where they're most afraid, losing their wealth. The final line broke off, ink smudging where the pen faltered. The words pulled me back to a summer in the garden, the scent of foxglove blooming beyond the fence. Mother's laughter rang out. Isn't it lovely? Poison can be so beautiful. I remembered grandfather's collapse that week. Father's rush to shape the story. Heart failure. Sudden. Tragic. But I'd seen his hands tremble as he signed the papers. The next morning, I went to the archives. Dust hung in the air like guarded secrets. I sifted through records until I found it. A death certificate, folded, creased, signed by Dr. Lell. The signature wavered, uneven, coerced. It didn't look weary, it looked afraid. I tracked down the doctor, now frail, his hands shaking. His eyes widened when I set the certificate before him. Doctor, I said, voice steady and cold, is there anything you'd like to correct? He crumbled. His voice broke under years of guilt. Your father paid me. I signed what he told me to. From a drawer, he pulled a faded envelope. Inside was the original toxicology report, digitoxin levels lethal, from foxglove, mother's garden. My blood turned to ice. The hands that once held me had brewed poison. My breath grew heavy with a truth no child should bear. The night they buried grandfather, they buried their morality too. The hands that raised me had taken a life. Part 5, The Trial and the Confrontation. I didn't go to the police first. I went to Michael. He opened the door, anger already etched across his face. What do you want? Haven't you caused enough damage? His voice wavered between rage and fear. I set a folder on the table. Bank records, forged transfers, photos of signatures. He flipped through them, his face paling. Stop, he whispered. That can't be true. But the quiver in his voice betrayed his doubt. Then I spoke the words that shattered him. They killed grandfather. He laughed, sharp and fragile, desperate. Don't say that. But I placed the toxicology report before him. Grandfather's handwriting, the journal, the confession, all undeniable. He stared, eyes glassy, then whispered, it was all a lie. I nodded. Every piece of it. That night, I left a USB behind. Recordings, signatures, unyielding truth. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Michael's voice trembled through the speaker. I found something. Meet me. He stood in an empty parking lot, clutching a worn leather notebook. Inside were gardening notes until the script shifted. Smaller, meticulous, chilling. Formulas, dosages, calculations for a man of grandfather's weight. At the bottom, one line in mother's handwriting, her pride unmistakable. Mission accomplished. We can start anew. When the arrest came, they struck amid chandeliers and champagne. Police moved through the gala like a chilling wave. Gasps echoed as my parents were led away. Mother's pearls spilled across the marble like a broken crown. Father's cufflinks clattered, sharper than remorse. Reporters shouted, cameras flashed, and their empire of appearances crumbled in a single, clean break. Weeks later, the trial began. The prosecutor's voice rang out. "We will prove James Graves was murdered for greed." I took the stand, my voice unwavering, each fact a weapon. The doctor's testimony, the toxicology report, the journal, all laid bare. Then Michael testified, trembling but liberated. For the first time, he wasn't their favored son. He was my brother. When the verdict came, the room stilled. Guilty. Mother screamed, "You've ruined this family." I met her gaze and whispered, "No, Mother. You ruined it when you chose greed over love." The doors closed behind them, chains rattling like the past sealing shut. They called it betrayal. I called it justice. Part 6, The Legacy and the Seed. The verdict reshaped everything, not what I'd lost, but what I chose to hold. After the sentencing, Michael and I sat in quiet, the kind that no longer stung. The estate was ours now, properties, accounts, stocks, the remnants of a tainted legacy. We could have claimed it, rebranded it, pretended it was pure. But guilt doesn't vanish with wealth. Together, we signed it away, every cent funneled to the Graves Foundation. Housing for veterans, support for survivors, scholarships for the overlooked. Money born of lies would now build truth. It was the first honest act in our family's name. Weeks later, we stood in a park at dusk, near the Veterans Memorial. Autumn leaves rustled along the stone path, the air tinged with pine and cold rain. Granite walls gleamed with names etched in light and sacrifice, each one a story of resilience I now understood. Michael sat beside me, his coat brushing mine, breath misting in the chill. "We've lost so much," he said quietly, "but at least we know the truth now." I looked at him not as the shining star, but as the man who chose to stand tall. For the first time, family feels like a choice, not a punishment. I tilted my head back, watching the sunlight fade to gold across the memorial stones. For a moment, I could almost see grandfather in his garden, hands in the soil, eyes warm with patience. His words echoed, not in sorrow but in peace. I whispered to the breeze, they thought they could bury me. But I was the seed. The words hung in the fading light, soft but unshakable, because I had grown from everything they tried to destroy. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was living. From their darkness, I found my light.